Every night at 2:47 a.m., someone knocked on the door of the old farmhouse. The knocks always came 3 times, soft, steady, patient. When Emma opened it, there was no one outside. But from that night onward, she could hear her husband's voice whispering from the walls, even though he'd been dead for 2 years. The farmhouse stood like a skeleton in the dark, wooden ribs exposed, windows blind with dust, and wind slipping through cracks like whispers. Emma didn't want to come back, but grief pulled her to the place she had sworn she'd never return. She parked beside the broken fence, hands trembling, the radio dead, and her phone showing no signal. Only the endless stretch of trees surrounded her, black and still. Inside, the air smelled of dust and rot. Floorboards groaned under her weight. She turned on her flashlight, catching glimpses of the past, a half-burnt photograph, a cracked wedding frame, a warped toy. Some things had survived the fire. She moved from room to room, each step echoing. In the kitchen, the old pendulum clock was ticking, though it should have been destroyed. Then came the first knock, 3 soft taps from the front door, or maybe from within the walls. She stepped closer, heart pounding. "Who's there?" she whispered. No answer. The third knock came again, slower, heavier, then silence. She swung the door open. Nothing. Just fog curling across the yard. Then, faintly, she heard his voice. "Em." Her chest tightened. She stepped outside barefoot, the fog swallowing her. Mark, the reflection of a shadow, a charred, hollow-eyed figure, appeared, reaching out. When its fingers brushed her cheek, cold burned like frostbite. Then it was gone. The fog cleared. The clock ticked once more. 2:47 a.m. The house wasn't empty anymore. The next morning, sunlight cut through the blinds, but it didn't make the house safer. Ash clung to the walls, black veins running through the wood. Her flashlight lay dead beside her. The clock had stopped at 2:47. She told herself she dreamed it, until she noticed her hand was blistered where he had touched her. She ran to the sink. Dry? Pipes groaned. Outside, the world was quiet. Fresh footprints led from the woods to the door, stopping near the old well behind the house. The lid was cracked open. She lifted it. The smell hit her, damp rot, smoke, metallic. At the bottom, something shone, a wedding ring. Mark's ring, warped by heat, which she had buried with him. Her fingers trembled. The reflection in the water shifted. It was his face, lips moving silently. Emma staggered back. The fog cleared. The front door was open. Inside, the air was darker, heavier. Every step echoed. The clock showed 2:47. From upstairs, slow, heavy footsteps. 1. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. A shadow at the top of the stairs tilted its head, the same broken angle. In a hollow, burnt voice. "You should have stayed with me, Em." The ceiling above her groaned, dust and ash raining down. A charred photograph drifted down. Her and Mark, smiling, and behind them, a blurry third figure. A soft, uncertain voice called from the guest room. "Mom." "I'm scared." Emma stepped closer. The air grew cold, damp, smelling of rot. In the center, a tiny wooden chair held a rusted toy truck. She touched it. The metal was warm. The child spoke again, layered with another voice beneath. "You left us." Emma's throat closed. "Us." The voice faded. Ash on the floor had footprints leading to her. The basement trapdoor, covered in debris, had to be opened. Cold air poured out, thick with the smell of rot. Something moved below, dragging slow. The whispers began. "Em, it's cold down there." Her steps creaked. Each one closer to the basement made the walls feel alive. The trapdoor revealed an iron door, pulsing like skin, marked with a sigil. "Keep it closed." She touched it. The flesh seemed alive. A voice hissed. "You opened the wrong door, Emma." Nails scraped the metal. Something began crawling up from below. She ran, slamming the trapdoor, hearing the impacts through the floorboards. 3 knocks. 2:47 a.m. The warning message on her phone glowed. "Don't go upstairs." Vibrations ran through the floor. Chains dragged from below. Another message. "It isn't Mark." The knock came from upstairs. The house moved, breathing, whispering. Her reflection in a window blinked independently and smiled. Glass shattered. Upstairs, a man in a soot-covered coat appeared, lantern in one hand, book in the other. "You shouldn't have come back, Mrs. Rowe," he said, his face half burned, one eye missing. "This house doesn't forget." and it doesn't forgive. Behind him, faces pressed through the walls, screaming silently. They opened the door before you. They never closed it properly. It feeds on regret. The whispers, the faces, the shadows, the house was alive. Close the door, he said softly. She backed away, trembling. The hallway went black. Something started crawling up from the basement. She slammed the nearest door. The black fingertip slid through the crack. The clock downstairs ticked again. 2:47 a.m. The final descent began. The basement door pulsed like skin. The sigil glowed red, syncing with her heartbeat. Mark knelt before it, back to her, head tilted unnaturally, shirt soaked with black wetness. His voice, cracked and layered, whispered, "You can make it right now. Just open it. Let me out." Fingers touched her cheek, leaving black, spreading fingerprints. Smoke writhed beneath him, the faces in the walls crying. Emma whispered, "I'm not running this time." She pushed her hand into the sigil. Flesh burned, but the door screamed louder. Every face in the walls fell silent. The creature's body disintegrated. The last thing she saw, Mark's face, peaceful, whispering, "Thank you." Firefighters found only ash, a burnt ring, and a circle of untouched floorboards at the house's foundation, warm to the touch, still breathing. The ashes had cooled. The old farmhouse was gone, reduced to char and ruin, but the land itself seemed alive. Emma stood at the edge of the burned lot, the morning fog curling like fingers across the blackened earth. Her hands were scorched, her clothes singed, but the air around her still pulsed with something unseen. The circle of floorboards at the foundation's center, untouched by fire, radiated warmth, faintly breathing, as if the house itself remembered every horror that had occurred within. She stepped closer. The wind whispered through the skeletal remains of the fence, carrying echoes of footsteps that weren't hers. A faint sound, almost imperceptible, ticked in her chest. 2:47. The clock, somehow, existed in another reality, marking a time that would never move forward. Emma bent down and touched the warm boards. The heat seeped through her fingers. The faintest voice brushed her ears, soft, familiar, and wrong. "Don't leave, stay." Her breath caught. She pulled back. The memory of the basement, the whispers, the shadows, Mark's voice layered with the creatures, and the black fingerprints crawling across her skin returned in waves. She realized the house hadn't been destroyed. Not really. It had only hidden itself, waiting for the next soul to stumble through its cursed foundation. Emma's eyes scanned the ruins. The fog shifted. Shapes moved within it, subtle and impossible to define. Faces pressed against the mist, shadows of the ones lost in the fire, echoes of the creature she had defeated but not destroyed. The warmth of the circle beneath her hand throbbed, a pulse she could feel through her bones. It was alive. Emma didn't move. She didn't scream. She just watched as the fog curled tighter around the ruins, carrying whispers and footsteps and the faint, distorted laughter of the house itself. Somewhere deep within, she knew the voices she had heard. Mark, the child, the creature, were not gone. The house had taken them, transformed them, made them part of itself. And now, it had taken her too, in a different way. She was outside, but the house's pulse was inside her chest, its breath on her skin, its memory in her mind. The morning sun broke through the fog, weak and pale, illuminating the blackened soil. To anyone else, it looked like a burned lot, abandoned and dead. But Emma knew the truth. The house remembered everything, and it never forgave. 2:47. The wind whispered one last time, carrying the faintest, hollow echo of Mark's voice. "You came back, but you can't leave."